Okay, hi guys, welcome back to the Rad Hyrox podcast. Today we are so lucky to be joined by Rebecca Mason. She is an elite 15 athlete. She's a fitness trainer. She's a full-time mom. She's qualified for the elite 15 in the World Champs going into Nice in June. And we are here today to see how prep is going for, is it 12 weeks time?
11, not that I'm on
11 now.
countdown.
How's it
To the end of the
going?
season. Oh, I would love to say going to plan, but it never quite goes to plan, does it? I am actually, well, I want to say injured, but I'm not injured. It's just an ongoing issue that I've had forever, really, and it flares up, and then it needs a bit of rest, and I have to kind of manage my training better. But I'm hoping it is settling down now. It's an ongoing knee issue. So yeah, training's not been going great. Well, I say not been going great. It's not the way that I would want to train, but I've still been able to train. I think that's the good thing about Hyrox is that there's so much to it that if I can't particularly run very long or far at the minute, but I've been spending a lot of time on the erg, so it's kind of just diversifying my training to still get the volume in, but without putting too much pressure through the knee. I think the main focus is just getting on that start line.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you say there's so much to Hyrox. Like, it's quite good to be able to do the cross training as well and use the ergs, and you don't always have to specifically do the exact movements or go out for the running. So yeah, very, very good point. I wanted to take it back before we get too deep into chat about prep for the worlds, to you getting kind of into Hyrox. And did you do any sports before that? What kind of like led you into the Hyrox world?
So from a young age, I was a gymnast, quite a high level gymnast. I was part of the British squad for 10 years. I actually went to the World Championships, the Commonwealths and the Europeans. I did qualify for the Olympics, but again, I seem to be a victim of injury. I'm 3 months out from the Athens Olympics of 2004. I ruptured the ligaments in my wrist, and unfortunately, that was kind of game over for me. I've always been involved in fitness, coaching as well. I still coach gymnastics as well as run a personal training business. So I've always kind of maintained that fitness and activity. I started doing a little bit of OCR, and I just thought you just did them for fun. I just did a couple of local ones, and then I decided to try a Spartan just for a bit of a challenge.
Nice.
And I did well, and I enjoyed it. Yeah, and I thought, and then I realised that actually you could do it properly, and there was actually a competitive sport. So I joined Rumble Fitness and did some OCR training with them. Fortunately, then COVID hit, so we all got locked down, so no races were happening. But actually through them, that's how I got involved in Hyrox. They are a Hyrox affiliated gym, and the Hyrox were doing the online workouts throughout COVID, kind of building a community. They did it really cleverly. They did the virtual World Championships as well, so I got involved with that. And then as soon as the event started running again, I went to the first ever one in Birmingham. That was about 2.5 years ago now. It feels a lifetime ago, but yeah, only 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Because I think like when we first found out about Hyrox, you were probably the name, like the female name that we saw and we were following. And that seems like ages ago. It feels like I feel like you've been in the sport ages. And it's like when you say just 2.5 years, you're like you just realize how young Hyrox is, don't you?
It really is, and I don't think people realise how young it is. It's this is its third season in the UK. It's been around longer, obviously in Germany, but yeah, it's such a short time span, and obviously it's grown massively. But yeah, it's for 2.5 years in a sport is not very long, considering I was a gymnast for 10 years, and I think we've learned a lot in 2.5 years.
Yeah, for sure. And then how do you think the gymnastics? I thought you were going to say I'd heard your gymnast story, and I was surprised that you didn't get into CrossFit first, just because the gymnastics can be such a big part of it. Do you think it's helped you in Hyrox or grip strength, maybe?
Definitely. The strength. Yeah, the strength. I think the volume of training as well. I was used to training a lot from a young age. Um, Obviously, the running is the thing that I've really had to work on. Gymnastics is not an endurance sport. We did very little running. The workouts in gymnastics, the routines are kind of 90 to 2 minutes long. So really short, sharp efforts. But I would definitely say as well, the transfer, like the mental resilience that comes along with gymnastics, has definitely helped me with my Hyrox kind of racing strategy and mentality on the day. So there's been a lot of skills being able to transfer, and we see that actually in a lot of the elite athletes. They've had Hyrox is like their second sport. They've been quite high level in a previous sport, and now they're able to transfer across certain areas. So I think that gymnastics definitely has helped.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you still get like, I mean, you're probably quite used to competing at that high level, and especially gymnastics, it's all eyes on you, isn't it? Like you've got that pressure of like when you're performing, everyone is watching solely you. Do you still feel like the nerves when you're going into the Elite 15 race, even though you are maybe surrounded by more people than you're used to? You know, there's 15 of you on the start line. Do you still get that kind of pre-race nerves, or are you quite good at just zoning out and taking no notice of anything around you?
No, I definitely feel the nerves. No, especially when we're traveling as well, and the day, it's more the day before. I'm always like, why am I doing this? Like, I could be at home just having a nice relax and with my children, not putting myself forward for these silly races. But no, it's definitely the day before. Normally when we always have an Elite 15 meeting. So it's normally that meeting when it's kind of becomes very real. We go and see the venue, and we see all the other athletes. Actually, on race day, I'm not too bad, because it's kind of like, right, we're here to do a job. And I know a lot of the girls now, so we have a little chat, we do a warm up, just like a training session, really. And actually, it's shorter than most of my training sessions, so I kind of go in with that mentality. The quicker I go, the faster it's over with. But no, I definitely feel the nerves, and I think that's good. I try and see that as a good thing. It still shows that I kind of committed, and I want to do well. I think if I showed up and wasn't nervous, then I'd be like, well, why am I doing this? So I think the nerves are a good thing, because it shows that you generally want and care about the results of the race.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, you've still got that want to try harder and do better each time. And just for our listeners, could you explain kind of your journey to get to the Elite 15? So you obviously did your first race in Birmingham, and then I presume you went on to do a major somewhere to then qualify to get into the Elite 15. How did that kind of time frame work for you?
Yeah, so my first race in Birmingham was just a women's open. Okay. I didn't even podium. Like, it was just a rock up and have a go. Yeah, I just enjoyed it. And then I kind of came away, was like, oh, that was good actually. I could get a bit better at this. I then entered Manchester. It'd be 2003 or 2002. 2002. Again, women's open. I then did London.
2022.
Yes, 22. Yeah, sorry, 22. Yeah.
You were well ahead of the curve if you were doing it back in 2002.
Yeah. I had some inside information. So I did Manchester Open. I then did Women's Pro London, because I qualified for the World Championships in Vegas, and I hadn't competed in the pro weights yet, and I wasn't sure how I do, really. I was quite nervous about going. I'm moving up to pro. I certainly didn't think I had a place on the pro women's start line. Again, all kind of that mental hold back that we often had, those self-doubts. So I thought, right, I'll go to London, see how I get on, and then hopefully everything will be okay in Vegas. And it was. I ended up winning the World Championships in Vegas. So it was kind of at that moment I thought, well, maybe I should consider myself a proper Hyrox athlete now. and take this seriously. And it was after that event, I thought, I saw the Elite 15 on that race. I stood and watched them after my race at the Worlds, and I was like, wow, they are amazing. Look how fast and strong and powerful they are. It was the race that Chris won, so she came out of nowhere to win, and obviously Hunter. And I remember thinking, God, I need to get better. Not that I wanted to be in that race, just it just showed me kind of the next level, and it really inspired me over the summer to have a really strong pre-season. I then competed in Basel at the start of the next season. And again, there was some Elite 15 girls on that start line. I ended up coming 5th, which showed that my pre-season had obviously worked, and that I was kind of improving all the time. And then from that race, because I was with a few of the Elite 15 girls, it really pushed me, and I actually got a qualifying time for Maastricht, and that was my first Elite 15 race a year ago now. And then I went to Barcelona a few weeks later, and again put a really good time down, and that was my qualifying time into the Elite 15 for the last World Championships. And then so from the last World Championships, it kept me that time has kept me in the Elite 15 for this season.
And you came 6th in Manchester, didn't you? Was it 6th in the Elite 15? Which is incredible. We were there, weren't we, watching? Amazing effort. So you described going from open weights to pro weights, but then also because you said about your gymnastics, I'm just wondering whether that probably suited you better because of your strength. Like if you hadn't done as much running but you were strong, did you find that actually you preferred doing the pro weights because it was probably a bit tougher with the strength bit, but it probably evened out because then you could use your running and work on that, but you had the strength already to push the pro weights? Or
exactly that. And it's exactly what I tell my clients as well now. The stronger ones that actually do that step up, go over to that pro category, it slows the fast runners down, and actually if you are more powerful, then it does suit you better, and it has suited me better. Definitely, I would agree with that.
Yeah, no, it is very interesting. And what about for training structure? Like how have you found the upping the running, especially I guess maybe managing your knee, is if that's an ongoing thing? Has the running, have you been having to be quite careful with that, and how much volume you put into your training to get those times up on the runs?
No, definitely, it's been kind of felt like 5 steps forward and 20 steps back at times. I have managed to kind of get my running volume up around Christmas this year to around 60k a week, which is a lot. And previously, like the year before, it was probably half of that, but my knees just said no, it's just far too much for it, which is frustrating because it's not kind of my engine that's giving up, it's my mechanics. And even that number compared to some of the other elite girls, like some of them quite easily do 100k weeks. So I know that I'm already kind of behind on the running because of that. But ultimately, I think it's not a one size fits all model. I do a lot of work and I do a lot of my volume now on the erg. So I'm still doing the hours, I'm still doing the volume, but it obviously it's not running specific. But if I were to keep running on my knee, then I'd just be completely out. I just would not be able to compete at all. So I definitely have had to find a good balance. I've brought my running right down at the minute, just kind of gradually started to build it up slowly. So I'm hoping by the time that we get to Nice that I am fully ready to go. But it's definitely a balance, and it's hard. It's been hard.
Yeah, for sure. And do you use a bike or anything? Because like I know you said the ergs. Are you just talking ski and row, or are you talking bike as well? Because I know, like, if you look at how Ironman or triathletes train, they do a lot more on the bike to reduce the impact of the run and build their aerobic engine. So that is a very viable way to train, isn't it?
It is. It really is. It is. And I've got a bike erg, a ski erg, and a row erg all at home. So I go on one of them or all three nearly every single day. And instead of going out running, I just convert that time onto those. And actually, my legs are probably stronger from being on the bike now. I feel like I've not really lost any of my aerobic capacity at all from using the machines. So I think it really is a good transferable way of building and maintaining volume without actually having to go out and kind of hit the roads or hit the trails.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing that people can take away from this as well, because cross training can be really good, especially when someone is kind of suffering from a bit of an injury or trying to like keep something at bay, because you see a lot of the like top athletes, and even, you know, we've done a lot of marathons and ultra running, and you know, you physically just can't do that many miles all the time, you know. But we've got friends who have raced 100k, but they're not always doing 100k weeks, you know. They're some of them are doing it like 50-60k weeks to keep that volume constantly for months and months and months is just not feasible for most people. Like, you do have to be quite careful with how you do it, and like you say, it's not one size fits all, you know. People's bodies react differently and people react differently to different training. But no, it's interesting to hear different types of and different ways people can still keep their training up, and you know, you've not let it set you back. You've obviously got the mentality as well to, you know, you want to carry on, you want to keep training, you know, like just find a different way to do it.
Yeah.
And
no,
what
exactly
about
that
your what about like your first impressions when you went to like won the first Hyrox race you did in Birmingham, and then two, maybe your first elite race? Like, how did you feel with the atmosphere, the community, the kit, like everything?
I absolutely loved it. As soon as I walked in, they had obviously the music playing, all the equipment out. I didn't take anybody with me on my first race. I kind of just went and just was like, yeah, I'm doing this and just gonna have a good run around. And it wasn't until London, actually, I brought my kids and my other half with me. It was only until I kind of knew that I was going to be all right at it that I actually let anybody in that I was I was doing this. So but then compared, the elite race is a completely different race. It's very intense. It really is. Like you say, all eyes on you. The track is clear, the music, you've got cameras, you've got videos. Yeah, it's a very different race. I enjoy it. I do really enjoy it. I like the fact that you are stood shoulder to shoulder with the best in the world. You know, it's all good running a fast race on a fast course. We won't get into that debate about courses but you know, some courses are definitely faster than others. But when you're stood there, with the best of the best, there is no hiding. You know, you've got to when they say go, you've got to go, and you got to try and keep up. And that time you put down against the best in the world is your time. Yes, it's different with the grid layout. It does take longer, especially the up and downs, but you know, as long as you train for that. But I would just say it's a lot more intense in an elite race than on a kind of a standard course, because there is no hiding.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I guess like when everyone goes out at the beginning, they always say like run your own race, but if 14 people go off, you don't want to be like, you need to just stay with them, don't you? So I'm guessing you're just like, oh shit, I'm going.
Yeah,
and then fall into your own race, or
well, 15 competitive people, someone says go.
Yeah. No one's gonna go, hang on a sec, I've got my own race plan here.
Go.
Yeah.
No. It's just like grab Meg and hang on for dear life.
Oh, for sure. I know. I actually just can't imagine like being in that intense environment and knowing that everyone's watching. And also I think because one of the nice things about Hyrox that they've created for the community is that you never really know where you are on the course. You never know, like no one's ever last. It's not like a running race from A to B. People are just all on different stations at different parts. Whereas, but an Elite 15 race is that there's a start and a finish, because you see people come in and then leave a station. So you do get that added pressure, I guess. Like you said, it's like an intense pressure cooker environment. And everyone's
it really
so fast.
is. Yeah, you are. And you can, like you say, you all come in very close together, and there's almost like little races within the race.
Yeah.
People are kind of having their little battles who they're closer to. So yeah, it is. There's no kind of holding back. You can't take your foot off the gas. You've got to go all in and just don't stop.
Yeah, and I'm interested to especially you guys racing at the top of the sport. Like from us, we've done doubles, but they're trying to keep track of your timings, because obviously you don't know like your pace when you're doing the runs, because you can't use like a watch or anything. Do you, when you're racing, do you look at a clock, or can you see a clock in the Elite 15, or are you just doing the whole thing off feel or off heart rate, or?
No, all off feel. Yeah, definitely just off feel. Actually, I have very few. I'll put a timer on my watch, really, just so I kind of, maybe as I'm coming into the wall balls or towards the back end of the race, I kind of know where I am timing wise, but I very rarely look at it. I just go on exact kind of, on how I feel and who's around me. I kind of know where I should be within them, if that makes sense. And I know my paces as well, on each of the events, especially on the ski and the row, and kind of try and stick to your own race the best you can. You know personally where you can push and where you can pull back, and it's trying not to kind of blow up too early.
Yeah, definitely. I think trying not to go out too hot at the start, even with all 15 of you sprinting out, like it's easier said than done. But I think you can see that from watching Graham Halliday doing his race the other day, you know, and he jumped however many places by just doing the wall balls unbroken. Like, it's incredible. He wasn't leading the race at all for the whole first half. I think he was quite far back, if I remember rightly, till after the sleds and things. So a lot can change from, I guess that's what's quite cool about Hyrox being a race generally around about an hour for the elite level, like that a lot can happen in that space of time. Are you quite good at staying in your own head and not getting too carried away with what's going on around you?
Absolutely. I would say my mental strength and resilience is probably one of my strongest things to take with me within a race. I try not to let things affect me. In Chicago, the setup wasn't great, and we all came running in together, all the girls on the skis, and I got knocked off the ski and ended up having to run all the way back down to the 15th. I kind of came in 4th or 5th. Okay. So I had to then loop down, carry on skiing, and then loop off again. Also within that race, I dropped the sandbag on my foot and knocked my trainer off. So I had to, and it's really tight as well, because you proper tighten them up. Yeah. So then shaking hands, because towards the end of the race as well, out of breath, I had to then take my trainer off, try and get it back on, and ended up running and doing the wall balls with my trainer down at the back because I couldn't get my shoe off or on. But you know, in that environment, you've got two choices. You deal with it and get on, or you walk off. And thankfully I was just able to kind of be like, this has happened, but I'm not done yet, and kind of move on from that. But I can see why people do struggle and react. I think this is what we said earlier with my gymnastics. I think because I have been quite a competitive environment and have had to compete at high level on my own previously, a lot of that I can transfer across onto Hyrox now. I quite often say to myself that if you can stay on a 4-inch beam in front of the world at the World Championships at 17, you can run around a track a few times. You're going to be okay. You know, it's all relative, and actually bringing yourself back down to a certain level is good to remind you that you've done hard things and you survived. So
I mean, I don't really understand how anybody like stays on one of those beams. Did you do that, the flips over backwards and all that stuff onto the that's ridiculous. I feel like if you can do that, like, yeah, you're right. If you can do that and not fall off, like anything else then just seems simple, doesn't it? I mean, like that in itself is just incredible. Did you when you were doing the gymnastics, did you have any did you work with a sports psychologist or anything, or did you was it because it's become more of a thing now, but because you were so high level, if you were like on the Olympic like selection, I'm guessing like sports psychology must have come into it somewhere.
Yeah, we did. We had sports psychology training for a little while before kind of big events. And it was a lot of it was kind of around calming your mind, that resilience. A lot of it was visualization, visualizing our routines before we went, and just kind of focusing on the positive outcome, trying to flip the switch from it being a negative kind of pressured performance to this is a choice and you've put a lot of training in, and the training is the hard work, whereas kind of actual racing or the competition days, that's kind of cherry on the cake. It's kind of for you to be able to show off your performance, and I definitely feel that has helped me transfer that across to how I race now.
Yeah, for sure. And then so I'm guessing, I mean, one of the things we like to talk about, because I think it's such a there's such a mental part to Hyrox. Do you think what would you say the split of like physical and mental is, or do you think it can change? Like for you, it probably changes with the race. I guess it becomes more mental when you're at the Elite 15 just because it's more intense. But for the average Hyrox goer, yeah, physical or mental, what do you suggest?
I would say actually when I first started Hyrox, I was much more physically better than I was mentally better. That my mental capacity, my mental resilience has definitely improved the more I've done a Hyrox, and I've kind of been able to really think about transferring the skills that I have had in the past over to Hyrox, because I didn't have much self-belief. I think because it was a new sport as well, it was all new to me and it was learning. I didn't believe, one, that I belonged on a pro women's start line to start with, never mind deserved to be going to the World Championships. So then have to compete in the elite, get to compete in the Elite 15. It's I think my mental side of things has definitely kind of gathered strength the more that I've done, and the more kind of you finish your races and you do better. So I would say it started physically, whereas now my mental resilience has improved. And with it, there's probably changing kind of throughout the season with a lot of people.
And what about, am I right in saying you haven't raced yet this season because you got the qualification from the last World Champs? And have you raced since that?
I raced in Chicago in October and then Stockholm in December.
Okay, so you haven't raced this year?
No, I've not raced this year yet. I was hoping to go to where was it after Christmas? What was the European champ?
Oh, Vienna.
Austria.
Vienna, yeah.
Yeah. So we booked and we planned to go there. Vienna, yeah. We booked and planned to go there, but I got COVID at Christmas. And I was actually not too. I know I was not too bad whilst I had it, but I suffered horribly with post-COVID fatigue for a good month after, and it just wiped me out. My training took a big step back. Just doing general daily tasks like sorting the kids out and going to work and being a mum and all that sort of stuff, that had to come first. That was all I had the energy to do. So I ended up pulling out of Vienna. And actually the week of Vienna, I was starting to get back into training and I was out running, and that's when my knee went. And so then that was the end of Washington too. I was due to go to Washington 3 weeks later. So I would say I'm having the worst kind of 3 months ever of my Hyrox career so far.
Yeah. God.
I was gonna ask what have the highs and lows been, but I feel like we've covered quite a few of the lows. You've not had the best of luck, have you? Especially not this year. But is there any plans to? Is it now all focus on Nice?
No, I'm going to race in London. I'm going to do women's doubles with Kate Davey.
Oh, fair.
Nice.
Are you going for the Kate Davey and Zara record?
Title.
The title.
We'll
Is Kate
see.
gonna break her own one with another brunette? She's just switching you out.
That's it. She is. She's testing us. Trialing us both, seeing who's better. No, we said we wanted to race for a while. And obviously with my injuries and then illness, I was like, I want to race just before Worlds, just as a bit of a pre-race tune-up almost.
Yeah.
But kind of not a single race where I want to race hard, but there's no pressure. And I think doubles is a really good way to do that. And for both of us, really, we both know that we will push each other. I'm really good friends with Kate anyway, so it will be a lot of fun. It'll be really nice to race in the UK. I've not raced in the UK this season at all. That was a choice. That was a choice at the start of the season, really. I love the UK races, but when you're racing for a time, you're not getting a fast time. So it would be really nice to actually go down to London and be part of the UK community there, because I know it'll be an epic event. It'll be exciting. So we'll do that and then head to Nice.
Yeah, that's it's a good way to look at it as well. Like, you get to race and kind of get your practice in, but you don't have that added pressure. You can just enjoy it with each other. So well, hopefully we'll see you there, because we should be in London, so fingers crossed.
Brilliant.
We can, see you there. But okay, next question I've got for you is your 3 top tips for Hyrox that you would give for either a newbie or an experienced Hyroxer. Do you have 3 things that you follow?
Yes. So my first one would be you've got to run. I think that's one thing that people really underestimate when they come into Hyrox is the different run variations. So there's 8 kilometers of running, and if you don't like running, then it's gonna be hard. So yeah, so build up your running steadily with all the info we've said earlier. But yeah, definitely is get running, running different forms, threshold running, speed running, slow running. Train all those different energy systems. So that's probably one of the best tools that you can have. I would say you can't get better at everything at once. So pick 1 or 2 things that you want to improve on, work on them, put them in a race, look at the data from the race, and then pick more things and be quite specific with your training.
I like that.
Definitely. And that's how I approach it, and that's how I approach it with my clients as well. What don't you like? What aren't you good at? Right, we're going to really focus on that. We're going to improve that area specifically. You're going to try it in a race, and then hopefully it's better. And then just keep moving on, because there's lots of different aspects for.
Yeah, sometimes I guess it can get a bit overwhelming, because there is like the 8 different stations and the running, and people kind of think, oh, just to get faster, I'll just get better at everything. But that's like quite a good way to break it down into like focus and bite-sized chunks to make improvements, and then hopefully you do see the improvements, which makes you want to carry on more, I guess.
No, definitely. And my third one would be not to over race. I think obviously Hyrox is growing massively, which is amazing. Hyrox tourism, we can go all over the world and do this, which is fantastic. We could almost race every weekend now. And unless you want to get better, I would say 5 or 6 Hyrox's maximum per season is enough. It takes a lot out of your body, especially if you're training and you want to improve that intensity. You wouldn't do 5 or 6 marathons every year. You'd maybe do 1 or 2, and I think people can get very overwhelmed and very tired and fatigued and ill very quickly, just by saying, oh, yes, I want to go there, there and there, and not actually kind of planning their season out properly. So look at the season ahead, kind of, they're a bit late sometimes in coming out and announcing venues, but almost kind of say, I want to race in September, December, and spread them out, and then
choose
enter them and choose, definitely, rather than trying to hit everything, because you're only going to burn out.
And that added with the travel time as well, like, and the, I mean, the cost, like, if you just travel and do, like, it's a full-time job, like, doing the whole thing, isn't it? But yeah, I think that's a really, like, you do see so many people now, and I think you can probably get carried away, like, looking at social media, like Instagram, and people are like, oh, I'm racing here this weekend, I'm off here, and you feel that kind of like, people don't want to miss out, do they? So then people want to go and join it and do that. But I think one of the things I thought you were doing this year, which I was really intrigued about, and I did see about your knee injury, but I was like, oh, I wonder if you're just really like honing down on world champs, and you've just decided not to go and travel everywhere, and decided not to like push yourself at all these races, and you're just really targeting like one specific race, because it feels like that's what Hunter's doing as well. Like, he seems to just be targeting world champs. It's just a different way to look at it, isn't it? Instead of trying to do every single race.
Yeah, my plan was just to do the majors, so it was just to go and do the 4 majors and then worlds, and that was it. That's what I wanted to do, and that was what I was planning on doing. That's why I was not going to race in the UK at all or anywhere else. Obviously, it's been a different setup with the Elite 15 this year. I'm not sure. They've not said anything yet about how they're going to do it next year, whether they're going to change it again. I can't see them changing it. So I think for the elite ladies, just doing those races would be sufficient enough to, if they want to improve. And by race, I mean stand on that start line and race, not just show up.
Yeah, and that's the difference, isn't it? You've got to decide what you want to do. You can show up and take part in the races, but you're probably not going to perform optimally. But if you plan properly, like you said, and you plan your races out with structured training in between, you can probably perform at each race and try and put down a really good performance. That's a really cool tip.
Yeah, and for you, if you can keep your cards close to your chest if you want, but you don't have to say no, I'm not telling you what my future goals are, but I'm guessing you're going to world champs to race, hopefully get on the podium. Like, that's what I would take. But do you have, like, is that your goal, or do you have further goals? Do you want to stay in the sport? Is that your plan, or have you got any other things on the horizon that you want to share with us?
Definitely my goal is top 5 at Worlds. It was 6 last year. I'm currently in 5th. If I can maintain that, then that would just be amazing, that would be kind of my closest goal. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but I am also doing the mixed relay. I've said it now. So.
Happy days.
So
you were going to have to be on the team, weren't you? Let's be honest. Like, what were they doing if not?
So that'll be such a fun end to the weekend. Doing Team England.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that'd be great. So that's on the Sunday night. After Worlds, I will be stepping back a little bit from elite racing. I just need to let my knee settle down. But I'm very excited because I will be, because I do online coaching at the minute, but only with a few athletes. I'll be switching my focus away from myself as an elite athlete and taking on more clients. And kind of my next goal then is to get a client in the Elite 15 and for them to become world champion and for them to kind of break the British records and that kind of stuff. So it won't be me doing it. It will be hopefully coaching others to be able to achieve that and do that. But I'll still be doing Hyrox, definitely, but probably just more in a doubles capacity. A future goal would be trying to get my other half to do one with me.
Has he done one yet? Has he done Hyrox?
He doesn't dare. Think I'll shout at him.
Full on domestic.
Yeah. That's amazing though. That's a really good way to kind of switch your focus and take a positive out of like the knee flare up and try and, I guess, give back in a sense to the Hyrox community with your experience and all the races you've done, and like be able to teach clients what you've learned over the last few years. So that's really cool. And do you at the moment, Beck, do you work, is it your gym? Do you work in a, is it?
Yeah, I actually rent I rent a gym space with another PT. And so I do one-to-ones. That's kind of my main income. But I love working with people on a one-to-one basis, so I'll always do that. I think we learn a lot from working with people. I think it's quite easy to sit behind a screen and come up with all these plans, but actually putting them into action and trialing them. So I'll always have that one-to-one, but it's nice that I'm now able to work with a variety of people all over the world, really. Because like Hyrox it's worldwide, and more and more people want it, and more people are realizing that actually with more structure they can do better. I've obviously been in the sport for 2.5 years now. I feel like I kind of know how it works, how to structure my training weeks, how to improve, how to build up towards competition, and it's nice then to be able to share that with others and have their success. I've got some athletes competing at the World Championships, so I'll probably be more nervous for them on the Saturday than I am for myself, because I'll be like, oh, I hope that's awesome. Well.
That's so good. And I guess as well, also, even just like your background of being an athlete for so many years with so many different coaches and things like that, you can take everything and put it into your coaching. And the good thing about online coaching is the reach, isn't it? Like you can reach more people that would have the opportunity to work with you. So, that's super cool.
Amazing. Well, I think that maybe leads us nicely onto the cheeky insights. So we've got 8 questions for you, and usually I do them, but I'm actually going to let Faye do them this episode and see how she gets on, mix it up a little bit. So I'll let you kick it off, Faye.
Okay,
cool. So what shoes do you wear to race Hyrox?
I know the big shoe debate.
Man, the big shoe debate.
Saucony's Pro 3s. So
cool.
They're my race shoe. I only ever wear them to race in them. I don't train in them. I call them my fast shoes, and as soon as I put them on, I feel like I'm ready to go. So it's definitely a placebo as well.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And then, but they've brought out the Pro 4s now, haven't they? Have you tried them, or are you sticking with the 3s?
Sticking with the 3s. I've raced in them already this season, so I only have one pair a season. And I only race in them, so I'm not breaking habit, and I'm sticking with them.
The fast shoes. Perfect.
Yeah, the fast shoes.
Okay, cool. So next one is, what venue is your favorite Hyrox venue? You've raced in quite a few, so
Manchester, definitely Manchester. It was my first ever win.
Amazing.
I know. So my first ever win, and obviously being at the World Championships there last year was just incredible, and it's such an amazing venue as well, like the whole setting of it. So Manchester is my favorite so far.
Is it an old train station or something?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, isn't it? With all the light, it's the light coming through the windows and stuff, isn't it? It is cool.
Yeah.
No, perfect. That's been probably the leading venue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, how about your favorite Hyrox station? Which one would you choose and why?
Burpee broad jumps, which is probably most people's horrific one. I like a burpee. I'm up there. Me and Meg have the fastest burpee times.
No way.
So I'm definitely claiming that with her. Burpees, and I think it's just because I'm small. I think I'm a lot smaller than people actually think. One of the main questions people said to me when I was in Manchester at the Worlds was didn't realize how little I was. I'm only just 5'2". So actually being short and springy really helps with the burpees, and it's an area I feel I can really push on and gain some momentum in. Whereas some of the other athletes, especially the taller athletes who are probably better on the ergs than I am, struggle on that one. So yeah, burpees for me.
And do you jump in, or do you step?
Yeah.
Do you like jump back, step in, or do you?
Yeah, jump back, step in.
And do you just try and keep it going, or do you try to get to the end, turn around? Like you just keep going, keep going. Yeah, just don't stop. You don't
stop.
like do reps of 5 or reps of, you're just on it.
No,
Happy
just
days.
keep going. Yeah.
And I do think that's probably one of the stations that most people lose a lot of time on, the burpees. It seems to be the one that a lot of people lose time on. So I think, yeah, having that as one of your strongest ones. How about on the wall balls? Are you a 100 wall ball unbroken girl?
No, I do not like the wall balls.
I mean, it's getting competitive at your level. The elite, it feels like everyone's just smashing the wall balls,
especially the ladies. They're all mental. Yeah, no. My normal reps are 50, 30, 20. My fastest actually in Chicago, I did 2 sets. So I did 50, 50, and that was only because Lauren and Meg were stood in front of me, and I did their break. Yeah.
The pressure.
Yeah. I was like, don't drop the ball.
Don't do it. No, I think it's good. I kind of like looking at the wall balls, and then I guess trying to get some advice here, because I feel like I need to break before I know rep. And if I try and do too many reps, I end up losing energy before so I know there's this big thing about everyone going unbroken, but obviously it's a very high level to get to. But yeah, for people trying to go further, would you say before you start to get too tired, take a second before you know rep, or just carry on, and if you know rep, just keep ignore that rep and get back into it? Or what would your advice be on?
I always advise to try and get to the next 10.
Okay.
So yeah, almost like keep counting to that next 10, or count down. I often count down, so I'll be like 30, 29, and then so you kind of in your head, you can't stop till that one. Whereas if you count
up, you can
up, it feels like they're getting bigger, and it's almost like never ending. We'll count down from 10 and then just keep going. But if you are getting no reps, then definitely I'd stop. Give yourself, I would always say, breathe, and then count yourself in. I always say count 5, 4, 3, 2, and then go.
Go again.
So you're not stood around for too long. I think as much as we train a lot of wall balls, we can compromise wall balls. I've had races where I've gone to the end and I've done my wall balls and they felt pretty okay. I thought that wasn't as horrific, and I've had races where I've got to 10 and been like, I don't actually know how I'm going to
finish.
Do another 90 of these. I've got nothing left, and yet my training has been no different. It's just that deciding part of the race. It is hard, and I think that part of the race is a lot more mental than physical.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess like what you just said, to count, like even little tips and tricks like counting down or working just to get to a 10 and not stopping when you're on, like a 5 or a 6, like always making it to the next 10 is that little extra. And then the countdown, I think, putting the wall ball down and not just standing around, but giving yourself like a 5-second countdown so you're not losing 30 seconds by all good tips. No, that's awesome. So if you could do a doubles Hyrox, I mean, you might have already answered this, but with anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would it be?
I was thinking about that. I'd probably want to go with Tia Claire Toomey. I think she would. I think she'd just be absolutely epic at Hyrox anyway. I would love for her to do a Hyrox, because we've had quite a lot of CrossFitters come over, especially at the American events now, and they're working it out. So I think her as well, endurance wise, she is a strong runner. So I think it would really suit her. So I think she would be an amazing partner to race with. I
think we were talking to Zara, and Zara said that the other day, didn't she?
Yeah, oh, brilliant.
So that's both of you. You were gonna have to fight over her.
Sack Kate off.
Kate, you're done. But yeah, she would be, wouldn't she? She's got everything, hasn't she? She would definitely do 100 wall balls American, and I think she'd probably give you a run for your money on your burpee broad jumps.
She would, she is just like an all-around amazing athlete.
No, it'd be it would be super interesting if she did do one. Maybe one day, you'll see. You might see her at one. So do you fuel Beck, for Hyrox? Do you take anything during the race, or?
It depends. I carry a cliff block, and I would have that as I was kind of running into the rower, so that would just help me towards the second half of the race. It depends how I'm feeling, really. My main thing is to make sure that I'm fueling pre-race really well and have got a pre-race strategy, and also so that if I race on a Saturday, that from that Monday I'm really kind of nutritionally focused and hydrated as well. I think doing something 1 or 2 days before the event, I think you've really got to have a really focused week going into the event and make sure that everything's kind of nicely stocked up, and so you feel good on the actual event day. It depends how fast you're going, really. For 1 hour endurance, maybe you don't need, some people do, some people don't, but if you are kind of doing it at 120 or a 90-minute one, I definitely would say you'd probably want something. I've tried gels, but they just don't agree with me. They just rip my stomach up. I've had a gel in a race before and really suffered after. It's just not been a nice thing.
But do they, like, the cliff bars get, like, the blocks get stuck in your teeth, you know? Sometimes like they sometimes can be quite, I suppose at least they go warm in a Hyrox. Where do you keep it?
Sweaty.
In sports bra?
Just in my sports bra. Yeah, so it's nice and sweaty and soggy and ready to go. I remember when we were in Chicago racing, and Lauren carries Sour Patch Kids. I don't know how she eats them, and the sour as well. Anyway, so she was burping, so we were doing the burpees, and they were like Sour Patch Kids scattered on the track. Yeah, like, ooh. I think a judge said to her, "Do you want me to get them for you?" I think she was like, "No, I'm all right, thanks." Like, I'll leave them ones. But yeah,
I was gonna ask, what about like timing wise for your races? I mean, I know Hyrox in general, you know, some of them start at 8 a.m, some of them at 8 p.m. Like, I don't know if the elite races, do you usually always have the same start time, or is there something you do pre-race as like a ritual, no matter kind of where you are or what time you're racing, or do you change it depending on if you're racing in the morning or the evening?
It changes, really. We race late at night and early morning. I prefer morning. It's when I train and I just generally feel better. In Nice we are racing at 6 o'clock on the Friday night, so not too late, but still
quite late, isn't it?
Still quite late. Still got the full day, so I definitely will be practicing what I'm eating before. I always have a banana saurine malt loaf. I love them. So just an hour before, even if I'm not hungry, I always have one of them. And I just feel you get quite a lot of bang for your buck with them. They don't take much to eat, but they've got a good carbohydrate intake with it, and they're dead easy to eat as well. So yeah, I always have one of them, but leading into the race just really depends on the time of the race.
Yeah. And I'm going totally off topic with the insights questions, but would you replicate your train? So now you say you train in the morning, but as you're going now, you know you're going to be racing at 6 p.m. in the World Champs. Would you train and do some of your training sessions at 6 p.m.
leading up
in the evening?
Yeah, leading up to probably like kind of a month out. So after London, it will be kind of switching it up a little bit and practicing what I'm actually going to eat as well in the day leading up to it, just so I know that what I am eating is one, sits well, and two, I'm fueled well enough to be able to push. And I think as well, going into like when we're obviously in a different country, so making sure that I can replicate what I'm eating. Ooh, the dogs come in.
What are you up to? Dogs always want to be a part, don't they?
Replicating, I'm able to replicate that in another country, so kind of making sure that it's normally chicken and rice and bread and honey, and just really simple carbohydrates that are easy digestible. I'm not gonna and are easy to find when you're away as well, because obviously, like we said earlier, a lot of people race abroad now, and food is one of the issues. You're eating you're out, you're at a hotel, restaurant food probably different to what you would normally eat. So I think a bit of prep around that nutrition is really important.
Yeah, for sure. I think France is quite a good one to go to. At least you can get some good baguettes and nice croissants or something before.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite training session then for Hyrox? It can be like a run session. It doesn't have to be a specific session. Obviously not a run right now. No. Is it an erg session? Is it?
No. I love like the kind of like a conditioning session, like a proper grindy, longer workout where you've got kind of reps or numbers like a metcon to work through for time, and you just kind of got to get your head down and get on with it. They're my kind of sessions, and I do that all the time if I could. My least favorite is the running ones, but I always put the runs, like especially threshold running, I always put them at the start of the week, probably on a Monday, so I get that hard session done first, so I kind of know that I've had some success. It's also when I'm a bit fresher as well, so I know I can hit the paces and kind of focus. And I think that's important as well when you're setting your week up, is to kind of put the focus sessions right at the start of the week, so you know that you've hit them and you've got them in the bag. But no, I definitely would say so. They're not my funner ones, are more towards the end of the week.
Okay, yeah, I got you. I mean, and I saw that on your Instagram actually. I think it was it earlier this week you did one on Monday, and I thought that's such a good way to look at it, as in most people would put off the sessions they don't like, so then by the end of the week they're like, oh man, I've got to get it done. Whereas actually, if you just get up and get it done when you've got the motivation at the beginning of the week, you've got them in the bag and you feel like you've won the week already, and then you look forward to the it's a great piece of advice. Awesome. So why should someone sign up to their first Hyrox? If someone's thinking about it now, they're listening to this podcast and they're like, oh, I want to do it, but I'm still not convinced. What could you say to convince them to get there on the start line?
I'd just say it's like such a massive sense of achievement. It's nothing like you've ever done before, and actually it doesn't matter how slow or fast you are, like nobody knows. You're all in that course together, like nobody knows what age group you're in, nobody knows who you're racing against, you just do it for your own race. I think as well, one of the things I love about Hyrox is just that sense of community. Kind of, you're buying into the brand, but you are a massive part of something big, and there's so many supporters out there. I've had nothing but positive support from everybody, which I'm very grateful for, and it's probably one of the reasons why I stuck around in Hyrox is just having that sense of community and that sense of belonging. So I think I often find once you finally do one, you're excited to do more. It hooks you in.
Yeah, it definitely does that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I've got two more actually. It was 8, but I've added a question because I keep adding questions in it. But because Jane from Erg Army, I don't know whether you've heard of Erg Army. Yeah. She talks about damper settings. So we've started to ask, post her podcast recording, what you would set a damper to when you jump on the ski and you jump on the row.
Mine are at 6. I'm quite a small athlete. I'm not tall. I'm probably not as heavy as some of the bigger girls as well. So I don't have as much power. So I use more kind of my aerobic capacity. So I'm probably pulling at a higher erg rate than some of the bigger girls. But you've got to work on that technique that suits you. And so for me, definitely it would be kind of more of a lower 6. I've got no ego attached to an erg setting.
No, absolutely not. No, it seems to be the standard one, like 4, 5, 6 for females seems to be like where most people are sitting. And I think whenever you run up to it, like whenever you've gone to a row or a ski on a Hyrox race, it's usually around 5, 6 anyway, which is quite handy. The odd time it's on like 10 or something. You have to bring it down.
Yeah.
And then finally, then who would you like to see on our podcast if we could get somebody on to get some chat, some advice, a good story? Who would you suggest?
I'm going to say Shawnee Gibson. She is one of my clients, a really cool female athlete. She's CrossFit background, but has come into Hyrox and has smashed Hyrox. She's a very good athlete herself, doing worlds individually and mixed doubles. But actually, she's a mindset coach. And
good one.
Yeah, really good, and very insightful. I think it really helps that she's within the Hyrox space herself and is a competitive athlete. She's also a personal trainer, so she can give some really good insights into working on your kind of mental resilience, and female obviously as well. So she specializes in working with female clients. So I think she'd be a really good and interesting podcast guest.
Oh, that sounds like a really good one to delve into, like the mindset. Obviously it's like one of our big questions, and it's something that everybody seems to struggle with. I mean, I think only a few weeks ago I had a message from one of our athletes saying like, oh, I just had a tough session, like how do I sort it out, how do I sort my head out? And I'm like, oh, we'll work through it in the training. But it's one of those things that everyone's like, what is the solution to sorting my head out? I feel good physically, but sometimes your head just goes. And sometimes you have training sessions like that and races like that, don't you? It's just not holding on to it, I guess.
No, absolutely. And I think that's just part of the training, and accepting that is just part of it. That's just all learning. And I think I read somewhere that you've got to kind of split everything into three, that you'll have kind of a third really good sessions, a third kind of all right sessions, and a third rubbish sessions. And so you've just got to get that balance and work through them, and accept that not every week is going to be great, but you appreciate not to dwell on those weeks. You're still showing up, you're still doing the sessions, you're still going to race, and you're still showing that commitment, and that all adds up.
Yeah, for sure. And then lastly, just because you're talking about the different sessions, I saw you said on your Instagram, like mum life won today. I didn't get in the gym, but like, how is it juggling being a mum and being an elite athlete? How do you find that?
It's hard. It really is hard. I'm lucky that they are really supportive of me. They love to come and watch me. They understand that mummy has a training to do, and it's a big part of my life. And they see that commitment. But sometimes, like my two are 11 and 8, so they've got their own things now. So they play rugby, football, hockey, netball. So they have all their things. So sometimes you've just got to be, I need to take a back seat today because they've got to go there and he's got to go there, and you can't split yourself into two, and be okay with that, because they do give a lot to me as well, with my traveling and training, and it is a juggle. But also on the other side of things, know that it's a priority, that my training is a priority to me, and that I've got my own goals. Yes, I am a mum, but I'm also Beck, and it's a big part of my identity, being an athlete and training and competing. I wouldn't be the person I am if I didn't do this. So yeah, it's just trying to find a balance, and sometimes it's just going to tip too much one way, and you just got to accept that. But as long as everybody's on board with it, like I say, I've got a really good support network. Everybody knows where they're at. Everybody knows the goal. Everybody's supportive. And as long as everybody's kind of all in on them, then it works.
And it must be so cool, like, to have a mum that's in a elite 15 race. I mean,
know,
like, that's an elite athlete. Imagine going to Hyrox and you're the one that's like, yeah.
There's my mum just smashing it on the start. Like it's so good and so inspiring for them to see you, like, pushing your body, pushing your limits, and like kind of showing that you don't have to just solely like be mum. You can also like have your own goals and your aspirations, and life doesn't stop just because you are like a mum and you have children. Like you can then go on and still see what your body can do. Like I think it's incredible, and I take my hat off to you, because I think you probably get up quite early and go to bed quite late and juggle a lot of things, and sometimes wonder how people get the time in the day. I think a dog's hard enough to look after.
Got a dog as well.
Yeah, and I know, and you've got one of them. But no, it's been amazing to chat to you today. And how can our listeners follow you, follow your story, get behind you for competing in Nice, and what's the best way, or reach out maybe for some coaching, that sort of thing?
Yeah, on Instagram is probably the best way. So Beck Mason PT. Yeah, you can just find me on there. I often post, like I say, different workouts or what I'm up to. I'll be documenting kind of my recovery from injury, and hopefully get into Worlds, and then with a stop by in London as well with Kate. So hopefully over the next 11 weeks, some good insights into Hyrox.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's amazing. So you can give Beck a follow, and you can also follow Rad Chicks on Instagram as well to see more about which guests will be coming onto the podcast. If you could give the podcast a follow and share it far and wide, that would be amazing as well. You can get us on your platform of choice. And yeah, we will see you on the next episode. Thank you very much.